Taproom Table. I'm Andrew.
I'm Brandon.
And might see a little bit of a different location.
Yeah.
We're actually at Lake Stevens Brewing in Lake Stevens, Washington. And what are we trying?
Well, this right here that I've drank most of already is the Winter Blues. So
it's a blueberry ale, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, you got it on your phone. You look it up.
Quick reference guide. Winter Blues, it's actually a blueberry wheat.
Oh, blueberry wheat, that's
so
right.
5.4% ABV and a 17 IBUs. So
yeah,
it's delicious.
It is delicious.
Hence why most of mine is gone.
Before this, we had was it the Firehouse?
Yeah, the Firehouse Red.
Yeah.
The amber ale. It's
it's kind of, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of weird drinking a Firehouse next to the Firehouse.
Yeah, right.
Which is literally right across the street. This one is it's called the Shitter's Full.
Yep, it's a milk stout. It is 6.3% ABV and 31 IBUs.
Nice.
And then this over here is actually their Pilchuck Porter, American Porter. It's 6.6% ABVs and it looks like about 32 IBUs. So,
yeah.
Hell yeah.
So I will also mention we have patrons amongst us.
So if you're talking. Okay.
So if you hear side chatter and our mouths aren't moving, don't worry, you're not freaking out. There's just other people here. I've already talked to them. They're already cool about being in the area. It might seem weird. I'm not gonna lie. It might seem weird that we're just talking to an inanimate object, but whatever. That's YouTube, right?
We're working on.
I'm just gonna pretend like I'm famous and that, I'm a popular YouTuber with my 50 subscribers.
Yeah, we got a line of people outside waiting to take our autographs.
Yeah, I had to shoo some people away. Like, no, I'm recording a video. I can only have like 3 people in here. F off.
We got security holding out the paparazzi. It's whatever.
And you guys, I know you said you're from Chicago. You're from Sweden. And Connecticut. I don't know why I wanted to say Illinois. It's long ways off, right?
You're not even close.
I know. Well, I have that Marysville education. In my mind, they're like right next door neighbors.
Just wait, we're really gonna test him later and put up a map of Europe and have him actually point out where Sweden is.
Please don't. Please don't. Yeah.
Hello, American public school system.
So yeah, like I said, we're in a different location, but we've been wanting to come out and do videos like this where we're actually at the breweries and talking about the breweries.
And hopefully, at some point, we're actually going to be able to talk to head brewers, owners even, and sit down and actually do some interviews with them. It's kind of what we're working towards,
right?
Eventually,
right.
So,
and mentioning that, so just recently, I actually talked to one of the owners of Five Rights Brewing down in Marysville, and I told him, what the YouTube channel is all about, what I'd like to do, and they're super excited. As luck has it, they're actually going to be celebrating their 3-year anniversary in the spot that they're at. Their 5-year anniversary, I believe it's their 5-year anniversary as a brewery as a whole.
As a business. And which is actually, by the way, as far as craft beer is concerned, especially up here, because the competition is so fierce, that is an achievement in and of itself.
Yeah.
To be around for that long, and life and all, and to survive COVID and everything else. With the lockdowns and everything, that's a huge deal. So good on them.
Yeah, and
seriously,
I love doing stuff like this. I'm excited to move forward and start showcasing more and more breweries and getting that footage, getting those interviews and overviews from the breweries themselves.
Yeah.
Because I've also went over the holiday break. I went down to S.2 Brewing.
Oh, okay.
Did some photography and just kind of posted it up on Instagram there.
Yeah. That's a good thing. Is actually, that's one of the questions I was going to ask during this one was, what did you do over your holiday? Because we've been gone now for weeks.
Hey, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Here shortly. Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh.
Yeah.
To all of our single viewers out there.
We'll be your Valentine.
Hey.
Cheers. But I didn't really do much of anything over the holiday break, but I did do the 24 Days of Brewsmas.
I saw that. I actually watched that, and I was very much impressed by that. That was awesome.
That was
super cool.
An absolute blast. It was a live video every single day, where I didn't open up, so I had no pre-planning. It was all just off the cuff, right?
Because you actually, I was about to say, because you actually have like a beer advent calendar sort of system.
Yeah. So I had gone down to Special Brews, and I had them curate the advent calendar for me. But I told them, I gave them specific instructions. I'm like, I don't want to know what the beers are. I just want a variety throughout the entire advent calendar. So I want more than just like IPAs. I want more than just stouts, stuff like that.
Yeah, a whole mix.
And they did a phenomenal job. Like all of the stuff that they had in there was just absolutely just fire. And
nice.
But yeah, I mean, like that in itself was fun, but just not knowing what to expect from every single day, like I had to be on point. And of course, you know, like with live videos, right? I'm gonna screw up. You know, like I had my problems. I had one where I forgot to hit record. So like I was like 3/4 of the way through a beer and I totally effed it up. I hadn't hit record. I talked about the brewery, I talked about the beer, everything, and then all of a sudden I realized I'm like, oh crap. So I had to go back, re-talk everything. I had internet problems. Like you name it, and like I struggled in those first I think the first week of doing it was just like oh god, this didn't work. Oh god, I forgot to do this.
I was gonna say, because towards the end there too, it's like we got hit with that snow that came in that stuck around for like a week and a half.
Yeah.
As well, which just caused all sorts of problems up here. You figure Washington State, we should be used to cold weather. Snow.
Yeah, you would think. But we're not used to snow. We're just used to rain.
Yeah.
You know, we're really good swimmers.
Umbrellas are for the wind.
But yeah, that was a blast.
I was gonna say, you did that. You were relatively busy during that break that we took between podcasts and everything, because you got, I mean, obviously holidays with the families and everything, with the family and everything. 24 days of Brewmas. Hi. And
welcome to On Location.
Yes. And you were doing that, but you were also doing a lot of stuff as well, as far as like photography and talking to breweries in general.
Yeah. So there was
a lot of prepping and planning.
There was a lot of. I would say there would be a lot of like networking.
Yeah.
That I did, because I talked with S.2 Brewing when I was there, because I was actually picking up the A74 at Kenmore Camera.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I was like, you know, I haven't been into S.2 Brewing before. I've had a couple of their beers. I want to go see, you know, what the brewery's like there in Kenmore. And so I popped in there and I just asked the guys and the girls that were in there, like, hey, would you mind if I just take like some photos? I just kind of want to start getting better at my photography and editing and stuff like that. And I was, you know, upfront with them. I was like, you know, I'll post these on Instagram. You guys can use them, all that stuff. And so they're like, yeah, that's cool, no problem. And yeah, the guys at S.2 Brewing, you guys are phenomenal. And so I spent probably a good hour there and took photos of like where their taps are and their main bar, and then kind of wandered over to the back area where they prep the food and everything. And I got a couple of photos of a really nice lady there that was making some pizzas. And they have some absolutely phenomenal food there.
Oh, do they?
As well as their beers. And she's like, oh yeah, no problem, go ahead and take photos. And I was like, cool, thank you very much. And so I just snapped some photos while she's prepping the pizza and everything. And then I went home, edited them up, and then threw them onto Instagram. And I think it was like a day or two later, I got a message from the media specialist, I believe it was, for S.2 Brewing, and they're like, hey, we really like your photos, we'd love to do something more in the future. And I was like, cool, hooked them.
Got him.
And I was like, yeah. And so they're like, yeah, after the new year, we'd love to get together and do more. And so that's when I told them, I was like, well, I run a YouTube channel and a podcast and all that. And I have my fingers in a lot of different cookie jars. But yeah, that's kind of the plan going forward.
We might need to consolidate some of those coming up soon.
Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, I'd love to do something. Here's what I'm already doing. Here's, kind of, I showcased myself and I showcased us, like, take a look, see if you like any of the stuff that we have.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah, they're like, they got excited, and then, talking with Five Rights, they got excited. Previously, I've talked with Skookum Brewery up in Arlington, Smoky Point, Arlington area.
Yeah.
White Wall Brewing, which is also kind of Smoky Point, Marysville area. And I've talked with a couple others as well. So
nice.
And like everyone that I talk to, right, they're super excited.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't you be?
Well, I mean, because you got to think, like, it benefits both of us. Because one, it helps us drive our channel. It drives, our podcast. It drives what we're trying to do with certainly what we're doing with like the Brew Log and with the Taproom Table, as well as photography and videography and the stuff that you're working on as well. But it benefits them because it gives them exposure. It's basically free advertising for them.
Right. And
and as breweries are concerned, it's like, unless you get big enough to where you can start paying for radio spots or something like that, it's like you're not really going to get your advertising done through social media.
Yeah. And in talking to a lot of these breweries, right, like that's kind of how I sell the Brew Log and the Taproom Table is, we weren't even talking about financing, but my idea going forward, right, is basically to showcase these breweries almost like you said, advertising, like commercials.
Yeah.
A lot of these companies, they can't afford a spot on
they can't afford
national
to have
television.
They can't afford to have a film crew come in. And plus, there's laws regulating that as well,
right,
as far as like what you can have on, what you can't have on. I mean, for Christ's sakes, the Super Bowl alone, where everyone sees like the Anheuser-Busch and the Coors Light commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, God, I think last I heard, it's like a 30-second spot.
It's like a $1 million
during the Super Bowl is like over $1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, what craft brewery is going to have $1 million just burning a hole in their pocket? Like, we should do a Super Bowl ad.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like if you're talking just daytime TV, it's like to get one little 30-second spot on daytime TV. This isn't even like on like syndication.
Yeah.
This is just one 30-second spot on like a random Monday or Tuesday. And really, even then, they're probably going to have people that are going to be paying more money on top of it, so they're going to get the better spots, the primetime spots for their advertising.
Exactly.
So it's so really, the internet and social media is the best way to go, especially for these smaller craft breweries who don't have that type of financial support.
Yeah.
As like I said, Anheuser-Busch, Miller Coors,
all your big names,
all those big names.
And I mean, and that's what I love about like YouTube. Right?
Yeah.
Is like, we have a platform.
Oh, yeah.
It's free. You don't have to pay to get onto YouTube.
Yeah,
and like I haven't started the business of the Brew Log yet.
Yeah.
Right? And so in those first couple episodes and interviews and stuff like that, like, they're gonna hop on top of that because it's free advertising.
It's free for them.
Like,
all they gotta do.
we only have we have less than 50 subscribers. We're almost there. So if you're watching this, you're not subscribed, please subscribe, like the channel, help us out. We really do want to showcase as many breweries as possible and
support our drinking habits, please.
Right. And later on down the road, we already planned on going down to like Oregon and showcasing.
Yeah, we actually there's one brewery that I think I know I'm talking about, St. Benedictines, which is actually where they do Abbey ales down there. Really want to take a trip down there and actually tour it, and who knows, maybe even tour the Abbey.
Yeah, and I mean, as time goes on, right? Like these videos, if you watch the first videos, especially if you go back to Facebook and you watch where the Brew Log
started,
became, and
versus where it's
started, now. Right? And then you look at these videos, and it's like,
up,
and it's in 4K, right?
Yeah, we're just going up. We're just going up, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you can definitely see the progression of skill, you know, not only in the video quality, but the audio quality, which, by the way, I'm just using the Rode NTG, I think it is. It's a Rode microphone. It's an on-camera microphone, so the audio might not be amazing.
It looks like a rabbit's foot on top of your camera.
Right? Yeah, I got the wind blocker on there, so. But yeah, I mean, the video quality, the audio quality, the editing quality, everything, all the way down to like, this is shot in S-Cinetone. So even like the picture profile, right? It's not just, put it on auto and away we go.
By the way, if you ever wanted to know which one of us is the brains, he just threw out a bunch of $20 words that I don't know.
Which I'm not gonna lie, to be called the brains of an operation about anything, kind of weird. Oh, fire truck! I feel like we should like have a drinking game that every time we hear a fire truck, we should have like a firehouse. Ale.
Cheers!
All right. Hey, cheers!
Someone's house is burning down.
Yeah, to the Lake Stevens Fire Department. Hey. Cheers! Good times.
You know what? I will cheers to the fire department. That I will do. But,
exactly.
You know, and that's the thing though, is like your winter break seems busy because like you were doing all this moving and shaking as far as business and stuff is concerned. I was very selfish on my winter.
It's okay.
I went to New Orleans for a week.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, New Orleans.
Nolans.
I went to New Orleans for a week. Didn't drink any beer. But
both of us probably just said that wrong. We probably have no Louisiana viewers now.
Yeah, they don't know how to operate a computer. It's okay. If we did have one, we just lost them.
Yeah. Just driving that stake in farther. Aren't you?
I actually went to. I had celebrated Christmas with the family, and then I went to New Orleans for New Year's.
Yeah.
So I got to celebrate New Year's in New Orleans, which was really, really cool. Didn't drink any beer, but I drank lots of Hurricanes.
Yeah.
And they're strong.
Yes, they are.
So I did do a trip by myself to New Orleans, and then I came back and went back to work at the brewery. And other than that, man, I mean, like my life's just been busy in the sense of it's a lot of like personal gain sort of stuff. I've been doing more hiking. I've got a personal trainer, so I'm like working out at the gym now and losing all this weight.
Well,
and stuff.
Speaking of hiking, you've been kind of getting into photography as well.
A little bit of amateur. I have I got a Google phone. I got a Pixel 6. That's my camera. And basically, I've been doing hiking, so I've been doing a lot of like nature pictures, basically waterfalls, especially. I love doing hikes that have a scenery to it.
Yeah.
I don't. There's people that like to just go on hikes just because their hikes are in the woods. It's secluded. Me, it's like, nah, man. I gotta have like a waterfall or a lake or a cliff. Wallace Falls, by far to me, is the most beautiful place. Yeah. Not just because of the waterfalls, but because there's actually a lookout point midway up where you get out there and you can actually see the entire valley. And I took a couple of pictures of it. But for me, it was a little bit more like kind of mysterious because we had a heavy fog day that day. And so all you see, it almost looks like I'm above the clouds.
Yeah.
But it's just the fog that's just settled in.
It's those photos that have like substance to them, right?
I'm not gonna lie, I took one of a spider web I was impressed with. Mainly because I hate spiders, but I took one of a spider web that just looked cool
from a distance. Like I'm just gonna zoom in.
It had like dew on it, and it just looked really cool. And it had the waterfall in the background, and I went, I was like, this might be my best opportunity at actually being like an amateur photographer here, is to just take a picture of this spider web, and but it came out, and it's actually one of my better photos I think I've ever taken.
Yeah, like these things, right? Are
these
they're crazy?
These things are so advanced.
Yeah,
and you can do all sorts of weird stuff with them too. You can do tints,
and I've seen
textures.
so many photos where they'll go through and they'll take a bunch of iPhone or Google or whatever, like whatever phone they have. They'll take a bunch of phone photos, right?
Yeah.
And then later on, you'll see on Instagram, they'll have like a A7 III or a Canon R5 or whatever, and they're going through and they're taking these photos, and it's like they look almost similar. Like the advancements in technology on the phones is getting insane.
Yeah.
Like, granted, they do have functions like shallow depth of field, and like what is it, like selfie mode and stuff like that, where you can take the photos and it'll blur out the background.
Yeah.
And it does what what a 20-something-year-old that wants to take a selfie that looks like more than just a regular cell phone selfie can do. But
I'm 34, and I'm going to tell you right now, trying to take a selfie is, one, kind of new to me, because I'm not typically that vain of a person to where I'm like, selfie time.
Right.
And number two, there was nothing more awkward than being on a hike surrounded by other hikers trying to take a selfie by a cliffside and having everyone just stare at you like, this guy over here.
Like,
he's not even able to enjoy nature. He's taking pictures of himself. Look at me, I'm at the cliff.
Yeah, where's your pumpkin spice latte and your Ugg boots? They're basic.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's just like, I don't really like taking stuff. I do just so I can be like, I was here. And then I move on. But I don't take. I hate taking. That's why I prefer hiking with friends, because then I could have someone else take my picture. Then it's not so awkward.
Right.
But so I've been doing that. I've been doing a lot of outdoorsy stuff as far as hiking, as far as working out, going to the gym. Got a personal trainer. Went to New Orleans, and a lot of personal changes there.
Yeah.
So, and
well, like I told you earlier, man, like you're looking amazing. Right. Like, I don't want to get your head, too big.
No,
but,
it's not that big.
We need to eventually get you outside.
All I know is that my personal trainer has guaranteed me that she can at least make an attempt to make me look like Chris Pratt, and I figure that's a plus.
You know what else is crazy about, talking about Chris Pratt? He's from Lake Stevens.
He is from Lake Stevens.
Full circle. What is that, like 7 degrees of separation from Chris Pratt?
Yeah, right. We just went from talking about, Lake Stevens Brewing to other breweries to what we're going to do with the podcast and with the...
It's okay. I have ADD. We can use me as an excuse. It's fine.
And now we've circled it back. And actually, we probably should talk about Lake Stevens. Stevens Brewing in particular, because they have some wonderful beers here.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I'm sitting here, I'm drinking the Pilchuck Porter, which is actually very reminiscent of their... I don't know if you ever had it, their peanut butter porter.
Yeah. So the last time we were here, to talk about weird coincidences.
Yeah.
Right? We came here, what was that?
About a year ago.
It was about a year ago.
It was about a year ago. Maybe a little bit more than a year ago.
And we had talked about starting a podcast.
We did.
So how weird is that? Just in the fact that, like, obviously we didn't record because we were just talking about the creation of a podcast, but now we're back, we're here.
Well, because I think at that point,
we're doing a podcast. This is actually the first podcast of the year for us. There's all kinds of weird coincidences going on now.
At that point in time, I was doing a podcast with another buddy, and then you were doing the Brew Log.
Right. Yeah.
And then you and I had started talking about potentially getting together and doing our own little podcast. To kind of talk about craft beer and enter into the craft beer world.
What's your name again? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
To meet
Take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Our fans.
Right? We just got 3 more subscribers. I bet you those 3 are now going to be the subscribers that put us over 50. Thank you!
But no, at the time I was doing another podcast with another buddy that was more military driven,
right?
Because him and I were both veterans, and then you and I were talking. You were doing the Brew Log, and me being a brewer at the time at a craft brewery, and having experience being a brewer at a craft brewery, and then you having kind of at that point just kind of entered into the craft beer world and wanting to share that experience with the world. We both kind of came together. We had this conversation. We were actually right here at Lake Stevens Brewing out on their patio, and we were talking about it. And I think that's when we kind of decided, no, this is something that we should do because there's nothing else really like this. I mean, there are other beer podcasts,
right?
But none of them that really tackle what we do as far as talking about the breweries, talking about the backstories, talking about the, not just the different beers, but talking about the different stories. And that was something that you and I kind of shared, was that every craft brewery has its own story. I mean, from the owner's beginnings and getting into brewing and then deciding to open their own business, to the business, to what they're trying to, the identity of that business,
right,
and everything. And that's something that a lot of people miss. People talk about all the time. They love craft beer. It's so flavorful, all this sort of stuff, but they never know the full story that goes behind it. And as someone that's worked on the inside,
right,
there are stories about each and every beer that gets created. They're not all entertaining stories. Some of them are a little boring.
Well, yeah.
But the thing is, every brewery has an entertaining story. I mean, even craft breweries in the area that have been around forever. I mean, Georgetown Brewing has a wonderful story on how they started and where it got its beginning. Mac and Jack's has a great story on how it got its beginning. Fremont Brewing has a great story in how it got its beginning. And Scuttlebutt and so many other different breweries that are in the area. Crucible Brewing. There's so many other breweries in the area that, you get these owners that come in and you got different brewers and all of them. And, especially we were talking about how there's like this connected thing. And I'll go ahead and share one story. I'm not going to name any names or any breweries, but because it's kind of a personal story. But one of them was a buddy of mine on New Year's Day. I think I told you this. We talked about this. A buddy of mine on New Year's Day, unfortunately, took his own life. And he was a guy that I was close with, that when I first entered the brewing business with, he taught me a lot, and we shared a lot of good times, a lot of laughs, a lot of good stories. But he was a guy, he worked at different breweries. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up having this connection with all these other breweries. Like, these guys are our competition, but someone that was close to all of us. And like I said, that's what's weird about craft brewing, is that, yes, it's a lot of competition. It's a big world, but it's very much a small town mentality. And unfortunately, when he passed away, we all wanted to come together to try and find a way to help his family out. He was married, he had a son. We wanted to come together to try and find a way to help his family out. And so you actually had a lot of these big breweries that he had connections with, whether it was there were people there that he had worked with in the past at other breweries, or whether he worked at the brewery itself. All of us kind of started coming together, and there was about, if I remember correctly, there were about 4, 5, maybe even 6 different craft breweries that came together. Everyone brought ingredients, they brought manpower, they all came together, they brewed a special release beer. I don't think the beer has been released yet, but they brewed a special release beer to try and raise funds for him or for his family. And but to me, it's like that's that awesome kind of one of those weird, awesome stories about the craft beer industry coming together that you don't hear about because it's not in the news, it's not in the media.
Right.
It's one of those things you just kind of. It's just, again, it's that small town, almost family-like mentality. Like, yes, we're all competing, but it's a friendly competition, and those are the stories that you miss out on unless you are a part of that world.
And that's,
that was something that, talking to you, like with the podcast, I was really glad to see that not only you embraced and were excited to have come out, but I've been more than willing to hopefully try and share some of that.
Right.
Coming into this, and that's the side of craft beer that doesn't get represented in social media.
Yeah.
So
well, and it's stuff like that really does draw me into the craft brewing industry even more. Mm-hmm. Like more and more, hearing stories like this. Because you think of craft breweries and like tap rooms and stuff like that, and it kind of has that that Cheers vibe.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows your name. If you're a frequent flyer of the tap room or of the brewery, then you start to get to know all those people. And then, you know, like you have people like us where we showcase, and we're not kidding, we showcase as many breweries as we can.
We always try to show everyone love.
We want to emphasize and build on that cheers kind of feeling.
Yeah.
That family vibe. Like, yeah, you might not be related by blood, but if you're a part of the craft brewing industry, then you're a part of the craft brewing industry. And you can be as casual with it or as involved with it as possible.
And that's the thing is, you don't have to be a brewer or a cellarman or a salesman working in a brewery or something like that. You don't have to be a packaging guy or something like that. You don't have to work at a brewery to be a part of it. I mean, really, it's like, like you said, you can be a loyal customer and come in. I know at the brewery that I work at, we recently had a guy that showed up who he's a critic.
Yeah.
You know, he's a brewery critic, I guess you could say, or a judge. I don't really know what the official title is, but he came in and he was kind of talking about how he was like, wow, he goes, you know, it's really amazing. Because he's been to so many different breweries. And the brewery that I work at, again, I'm not going to identify it, but the brewery that I work at is within, kind of behind closed doors, it's known as the Academy. And the reason is because so many different brewers and owners of new breweries have actually come through and worked at the brewery that I work at. And they've learned more about the business. They've learned more about brewing. They've really had a chance to grow and learn, and kind of, especially the business side of it. Mm-hmm. And they've gone on to be head brewers, or they've gone on to be owners of their own breweries. And so he was sitting here and he was talking about it. He goes, man, I can't, he's like, it's so weird to think that he's like, all these breweries that I go to and I try their beers and I talk to the brewers and the owners, and he's like, so many of them have their roots centered at your brewery.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, and it's something that I know the owners of the brewery that I work for, they take a lot of pride in. You know, like, yeah, in a way they're creating their own competition, which could, you know, obviously kill them in the end, but they don't care, because it's not about that. It's not just about the business side of it. There's this personal side of it as well. And that's something that doesn't get enough attention. And it's those stories like that and those connections. And like I said, you don't have to be a part of the brewery world. You could be a critic. You could be just a casual consumer, and just visit all the different craft breweries. And you just start to kind of learn these stories as the more you frequent and the more you enjoy and really take it all in. It is truly, the craft beer world to me is the embodiment of community.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
and it very much does encompass that family feel, because like even if you take you know, a family feel, right, and you look at it, you have your elders. So like the place that you work at, you would consider them an elder in the craft brewing industry.
Very much so, yeah.
And then they're teaching the younger generations all of these skills and everything. So when they do go out and they start competing, it's like, well, yeah, you very well may be competing against us, but it just embodies even more of that family feel.
Oh, yeah.
You know, to the point to where, like, I can't speak for every person and that it would be this every way, but you almost feel like, well, yes, I'm competing with them, but I don't want to, like, just bury them.
Yeah.
And then have them go away. Exactly.
Yeah, there's a respect level.
There's that craft brewing family respect.
There's a respect level there.
And me personally, like, being a very family-oriented person, it just drew me in, and I was just like, it blew my mind how many craft breweries are like that.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I can't say that all of them are like that, because in craft brewing industry, it's a business, just like big beer.
100%. Yeah.
But, you know, for the main majority, the ones that I talk to, they're like, oh yeah, we collaborate with so-and-so, and, you know, oh yeah, you know, that head brewer, you know, they used to work here and they were just a grunt and they were, you know, hauling hops or whatever.
I know, yeah.
And it's crazy, and I absolutely love it.
It's nuts, because I can already think of one guy in particular. He's a head brewer now at a craft brewery here in Washington. He's doing very well for himself, by the way, and I'll talk to you about him offline. But he's doing very well for himself. But he was actually a guy, he got hired after me. I was actually one of the people that trained him.
Yeah.
As far as brewing at the brewery. And, I mean, he obviously had a lot of knowledge before he even showed up, actually. He was one of the few guys we had that had prior knowledge of beer and brewing before he actually came and worked for us. Because most people are like myself. You show up at a brewery, you know nothing.
Right,
You don't know anything about the brewing process. You don't know anything about beer. You just know I like beer. And right. I like beer. I like to drink beer. And so I'm here. But him, he actually, he went to college and got a degree in brewing.
Right.
You know, and actually went to beer college and brewing and learned the process, learned the recipes, learned the different styles and genres. And
which I'm not going to lie, I love that there's a beer college.
There is. Actually, it's right here too. It's Eastern.
Yeah.
Eastern Washington University is I think where he went to.
Yeah.
But now it's now it's you talk to him and he's the head brewer at a local craft brewery, and he's doing phenomenal. I mean, they're doing big things. They actually got a big project coming up soon. In fact, this year actually, they're gonna be working with the Seattle Mariners.
Nice.
And he is leading the way on that.
That's awesome.
And I mean, you see stuff like that. It's I could look at that and be I could be that shallow prick and just be gee, he's doing so much better than us. I want to hit him. I don't though, because it's I know the guy personally.
Right.
I've certainly like I said, I helped train him. We were friends and everything, and it's it does me so. I feel so much pride and just proud on behalf of him because he's doing so well, and he deserves all the success in the world. And I hope him and the brewery that he works at continues to just go nowhere but up.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's that's that mentality. That's that feeling you get when you have that kind of cross connection. You don't wish someone ill. You don't want them to fail. You want them to succeed. And if nothing else, the more success they have, the more they challenge you to up your game.
Yep.
And then guess what? That helps no one but the consumer, because in the craft beer world, it's if they're doing better, I gotta top them. I gotta top them. I gotta do a better beer. I gotta do something different.
Yeah.
And so you gotta try something new. And it just creates better beer, better products, better stories that the consumers like us and those of you watching get to enjoy.
Yeah.
And it's just stuff like that. That's why I'm so happy, and I'm actually really excited for the future. You know? And that's why places like Lake Stevens Brewing, it's a small brewery, but they put out great beer. They got a great story, and it's I can't wait till we get the opportunity to start sharing that stuff.
Exactly.
So
we're gonna take a brief pause. I'm gonna grab my laptop, and we're gonna actually bring up a little bit about the overview of Lake Stevens Brewing. We're also gonna refill some beers.
Yeah, we gotta get some new beers. By the way, I hope you guys are enjoying us. I know we're not going into depth with the beers as much as we normally would, but we're trying to transition a little bit.
Second half.
Part 2.
So stay right there. In the YouTube world, this will literally be that fast.
We'll be right back after this blink of an eye.
Yeah. But so hold tight. We're just gonna refill, and we'll be right back.
And we're back.
And we're back. We have more beer. I got a little beer.
You do.
Why did I get a little beer, Brandon?
Well, let's go ahead and put it this way. The reason Andrew has a little beer is because he actually got a beer. Hang on, I gotta look up the name of it. The name of the beer is the Valhalla Russian Imperial Bourbon Barrel Aged Stout. It's a vanilla ESP. It's 10.1% ABV.
That's why I got the little beer.
And it's got 71 IBUs. I, on the other hand, got the Big Doc. It is a New England IPA. It's 6.5% ABV and 40
I'm sorry,
IBUs.
You have a big what?
A Big Doc.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Big Vic's got a Big Doc.
Love it. Love it. So, yeah. I am a sucker for a stout. I've said it, I don't even know, countless times by now.
Well, barrel aged stout, I'm not going to lie, I went and actually got these beers, and I may or may not have taken a sip. Because
it's
a barrel-aged stout. How do you say no to a barrel-aged stout?
You stole my enjoyment of a stout by a sip. I think we can still be friends, though.
I hope so. If it's any consolation, I paid for it.
Yeah, well, all right. If you want to have technicalities,
if I want to pull that over your head, but no. The great thing is, folks, is that literally Lake Stevens Brewing, they have so many good beers here. In fact, the Pill Truck Porter that I just had, it's very reminiscent of their old school peanut butter porter.
Yeah,
you can still taste some of the peanut butter notes in it. I don't know if they've kind of redone the recipe, made it a little less peanut butter sweet, because it used to be really, really sweet. Like, you could really taste the peanut butter. Now it's more subtle. It's actually, again, it's more, I use this phrase all the time, but it truly is like this much better, like, beautiful marriage between the sweetness of the peanut butter and the maltiness of the beer itself, of being a porter.
Yeah, so you have that sweet and that dark.
Oh, yeah.
And everything's fantastic.
Of course, I'm not going to lie. I mean, the first beers we start out with is usually my go-to whenever I come here, which is the Firehouse.
Right, and that one's an amber, correct?
It is a red. It's an amber red. It's an amazing beer. I always enjoy it. It's usually my go-to whenever I come here. I always at least have one of those.
Yeah, and in all honesty, that Firehouse, that amber, is a awesome starter.
Oh yeah, it's an amazing starter. I mean, and they got a Pilsner on tap. They got the Firehouse. They got at least I think 1 or 2 pale ales. They got about 3 or 4 IPAs. How many? I mean, God, I think we saw 2 porters and 3 stouts.
Yeah. They have an awesome selection of all kinds of beers.
They even have a Marionberry cider, if that's what you're into. And look, I enjoy ciders too. So they got a really good selection here. They're always coming out with new beers as well. It's one of the great things about kind of some of these smaller craft breweries is that they kind of take a lot more liberty and freedom when it comes to creating new beers and putting out new beers on tap. I mean, they have their staples that they stick to.
Right.
But, a lot of the bigger breweries, they have like 2 or 3 big beers, maybe 1, 2, or 3 huge beers that they just mass produce, and then they have a couple others that they kind of test out. And,
right.
Might be cult favorites for those that are loyal fans and stuff like that. But these smaller breweries, I mean, if you really want ingenuity and creativity when it comes to brewing and recipes, it's breweries like Lake Stevens Brewing.
Right, and I'll post a location. I'll post their address and everything in the description below so that you guys can come and see.
Just make sure you get the tap room and not the...
Yeah, I'll actually post the taproom location.
Yeah.
The first time that we went to come and visit here,
there was some
apparently
confusion.
There was an address for like the house.
Yeah, there's 2 locations.
Happened.
There's like the main brewery house, and then there's the tap room / brewery house, and so it's like, and I say house, it is its own building. Right now we're sitting in actually the tent they have outside.
Yeah, we're in outdoor seating, and I did want to say, thank you to Lake Stevens Brewing for allowing us to come out here
Thank you guys so much.
Record and just kind of talk about you guys as well. And I mean, I love this place. This is only, I think, the second time that I've been here.
I've been here
possibly
a few times.
the third time, but I have yet to have anything that was even a mediocre beer.
Oh yeah.
So that amber was absolutely phenomenal.
Yep.
Exactly the way that you would want an amber. I tried the blueberry. We tried the
blueberry wheat, which was phenomenal.
Awesome.
It was amazing. I mean, beautiful wheat beer. Lots of blueberry flavor in it.
Oh,
not overly blueberry sweet, but just enough to where you do get that taste of blueberry.
Well, and what I liked about it is the fact that it tasted like a blueberry. It didn't taste like fake blueberry.
Yeah. It was like legit blueberry. It wasn't like something else.
And then, so you had the porter.
I had the Pilchuck Porter, which I thought was delicious. Again, to me, it's very reminiscent of their peanut butter porter because you can taste the peanut butter, but it's not overly sweet. And I think we talked about this with pumpkin beers. Usually, sometimes breweries will go
a little too over the top.
A little too over the top, and then you get this overly sweet beer.
They like to jump the shark. For anybody that gets that reference, obviously you're probably old.
They tend to go overly sweet, and then it overpowers the actual malt and the beauty of the malt and the hops together. This time, this case, the Pilchuck Porter is, I think, absolutely beautiful. Subtle hint of peanut butter sweetness. Overall, very delicious beer.
And I had the Shitters Full.
The Shitters Full, which, by the way, the name alone, Shitters Full Stout,
brought me back so far into my childhood, and I loved the reference, and I loved the beer. The beer was absolutely phenomenal.
How was the beer itself?
Like, it was great. So it had so many flavor profiles to it. It was dark, it was rich, but it was not overly any one tone. It was very nicely balanced and everything. It was very smooth drinkability to it. And then, so now I have the Valhalla.
The Valhalla Imperial.
Yeah, and this
barrel-aged stout.
I'm not going to lie. This is sweet. It's sweet, it's strong, it's dark, it's beautiful.
Are you getting like chocolate or coffee? Like kind of where are you going with, like what are you getting with this?
I'm just kind of getting sweet notes.
Just sweet in general?
Yeah, just sweet notes, but it's not like punch you in the face with sugar tones. It's just a very nice... It's nice because it actually lightens the drinkability of the beer.
Nice.
And having that sweetness. Because, I mean, some Russian Imperials, they can get a little heavy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of barrel-aged stouts, too, they'll tend to come across as very boozy.
Yeah.
Because usually a lot of them are barrel-aged in whiskey barrels.
Yeah.
Or bourbon barrels or something like that. And so you tend to get this very kind of oaky or... maybe even a boozy sort of flavor, high alcohol content especially. So, and
which you do get in this. Like,
which you do get in it.
You can still taste the barrel. You can still taste that.
But you can
spirit,
still taste the
fermentation
malt, right?
or aging in it and everything. But yeah, like you can definitely tell that there's the malt in there. There's even you can pull a little bit of the yeast out of it as well.
So it's got good complexity then.
Oh, it's very complex. It's very phenomenal beer. Awesome. It is a beautiful sweet end note to the night.
The big dog here, honestly, it's a very simplistic IPA. It's very good. The hops add just enough bitterness. It's not overly bitter. I know with some people, especially if you're talking triple or double or triple hopped IPAs, they tend to be overly bitter. This one, beautifully done. You get a very kind of earthy, almost cascadey kind of aftertaste to it on the bitterness level, and then the malt itself, the sweetness of it is actually very good. I mean, it's very well balanced beer, and so that's what I'm saying. Lake Stevens Brewing is an amazing brewery company. They do amazing work here. They got awesome beers, and the staff, by the way, super friendly.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's another thing that I love about the craft brewing industry.
I'm gonna say right now,
the staff.
Even if you've never been here before, you walk in, everyone here is so friendly. They're not, they're going to treat you like you're a neighbor. Again, it's that cheers mentality. Norm, you walk in, you've never been here before. Hey, come on in, have a beer. They got, and you can tell who the locals are that come all the time.
Right.
Because they got their mug club here. Like some breweries and tap rooms will do that. They got like a mug club where you get the specialized mug.
Yeah.
That's got like the brewery logo on it, and on the other
side
it's got your name.
They're all hung up on the wall.
They're all hung up on the wall, and they wash them and clean them and keep them hung up there for you for when you come in. And if you're on the mug club, you come in, you just take off your mug and you just tell them to fill it with whatever you want.
Right. Nothing feels more special than if you have your own glass, your own mug at a brewery.
Like, this is my
You
glass.
feel so much more badass,
right?
Like walking into a tap room or a brewery, and you're like taking your mug off the thing, and you're like, I'll have this today. And they're like, oh yeah, hey, it's good to see you again. I love it. Absolutely love it.
But yeah, the Lake Stevens Brewing, highly recommended. If you ever come around, if you're looking for another craft brewery to check out, please, by all means, come by Lake Stevens Brewing. It's right out here. It's right off the lake, too. Actually, the view coming in is gorgeous, so if you like a good view, it's amazing, because you just circle the lake over here to Lake Stevens, and,
Yeah, and we're kind of on the northeast side of the lake. I'll read you the location. The location, and like I said, I will post this in the description below. But the location is 2010 Grand Avenue, Lake Stevens, Washington, 98258. And then I brought out my laptop so that we could talk a little bit about Lake Stevens Brewing as well, because they were so generous as to let us shoot out here and everything. We were going to try and see if we could get a staff member out here, but we're pretty late in the night, and they're actually closing here fairly soon.
Not only that, but the Super Bowl is tomorrow.
Well, you know.
So
I guess that's a thing.
That's a thing. That's a thing.
So, a little bit about Lake Stevens Brewing. Located in historic downtown Lake Stevens, we're proud to have established the first brewery in the city of Lake Stevens. We've strived to create a small and welcoming taproom and brew house with a family and dog-friendly environment. You guys nailed it. You'll see 100%. Locals ordering food from one of our many local restaurants and on-site food trucks to enjoy with our many beer selections and rotating hard ciders. Like many businesses, we are founded as an idea in a garage between 3 would-be brewers and a pair of old brew pots. If only our brews had been less inviting, we might still be brewing weekly in that garage. Love it. But we still realized a substantial following of thirsty neighbors and local growlers seeking alike. The garage simply couldn't support the growth. A wife with a plan of taking back her garage space certainly helped the persuasion.
See what I mean? It's such a small-knit community that even the family members of brewers and owners, like, they're a part of it as well.
Right? Like,
if it
hey,
wasn't,
could you go start a business so that I can have my garage back?
Sweetie, I love you. I support you in all your dreams and ambitions. If you wouldn't mind moving this shit elsewhere.
Right?
So I can get my garage back, because I got to store the Christmas decorations.
So after 5 years of brewing together, we began looking for a commercial brew house location. Our local support, labor outreach, and Kickstarter funding sent us on our way with no looking back. Jason is a Lake Stevens native, owner, brewer, and engineer of the many brewing systems we've used over the years. Jason works full-time for Boeing and is also a commercial pilot. Jason is married to Elizabeth, and they had their first baby on Christmas Day 2020. Crazy. Well,
congrats.
Congratulations, Jason and Elizabeth.
Yeah.
All right. Brock is a father of 2, owner, head brewer, and married to his amazing wife, Andrea, the brewery backbone and admin extraordinaire. Brock retired from his general contracting career to work at the brewery full-time. And then we have Cullen, I believe, Cullen, I believe that's Cullen. Flathead was the real workhouse behind our brewing operation. Shortly after opening our brew house, Cullen tragically passed away in a car accident. He will never be forgotten. We brew in his memory. So, yeah, right there, that kind of speaks volumes.
That family mentality. You know?
Exactly.
That closeness.
Lake Stevens Brewing, you would consider this a nano brewery, right?
Yeah, I would consider this a nano brewery.
Not quite to the level of a microbrewery yet.
Actually, honestly, they might be a microbrewery.
Would you consider this a microbrewery?
They might be a microbrewery.
Okay.
Lake Stevens puts out, this some good beer. They might also be a nano brewery, but I mean that just goes to show. I mean, these owners, especially these privately owned businesses like Lake Stevens Brewing, it's like, it's not just a business. It really is. It's family. It's like you're putting your all into this. I mean, you heard the story. They were talking about the one owner that he retired or quit his contracting career to work full time as a brewer, and that's, by the way, that is a common story you hear for a lot of craft breweries, where these guys, when they first start out, they're either brewers at other breweries, or they're working other jobs elsewhere. They get the financials together, they start the brewery, it starts to take off, and then usually one, if not both of them, kind of quit their day job,
right, and
concentrate solely on the brewery.
Yeah.
That's actually a very common story with a lot of these. So when these guys, when these folks, because it's not just men, there's women that own craft breweries as well up here, when these folks do that, I mean, they're putting their all into this business. So yeah, it's very personal for them, you know. And then you hear about the tragic loss of Colin, and it just kind of adds to the story and makes it so much more vibrant, so much more important, and so much more personal.
Yeah. Which, on that note, respects to Colin.
To Colin.
So, thank you, Lake Stevens.
Thank you,
Colin.
And by the way, Lake Stevens Brewing was, they had this one tradition. I didn't notice it today, but I know in the past they had it, and I'm hoping they kind of continue it. They have this one thing where they have typically right by the cash register, they have a cork board.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, and at any point you could come up and you just take a piece of paper or like a business card sort of thing. And what it is you can write on it, you know, one beer for a veteran, for a teacher, for a union member, for whoever, you know, whoever. You could even write it one beer for whoever the hell needs it, and you just you stick it on the cork board, and then you're paying for a pint. You pay for an extra pint of beer that you yourself don't drink, but they charge you for it, and then someone comes in one day, let's say, you know, it's a union member that typically works at Boeing, because Boeing's right over here in Everett. A union member comes in and they decide, oh man, I've had a terrible week, you know, God, my boss is a jerk, my team lead is an idiot, you know, something like that. And they come in, they have a rough day, and they're like, hey man, I don't really got money to pay for a beer. And then you look up and you see this one beer for a union member. You pull off that card, you cash it in, and guess what? You just got yourself a beer for free that someone else paid for.
Right.
They have that system. They haven't had it lately, I think probably because of COVID.
It could be. I mean, there could be a number of reasons, but I will say it actually threw me for a loop, because the first time that I came here with you, when we were talking, it was as simple as the guy behind the counter, and I remember this vividly. Yeah. So the guy behind the counter asked me, hey, what's 1 + 1? And I'm like, 2?
Yeah.
I'm like putting in a question. I'm like, are you questioning my Marysville education that much? And he's like, no. And so he pulled the Post-it note, and he said, you know, hey, you get a free beer because it's, you know, you answered this question.
Yeah.
And you know, because it's your first time here, you know.
Yep.
We like to actually introduce that whole thing, and so I was like, oh, that's freaking awesome. And so I paid it forward, right?
Yeah.
So I got my free beer, and then I had ordered a couple of beers after that. And then at the end of the night, I was like, hey, I'd like to get in on this whole Post-it note thing.
I think all three of us did, because it was you, me, and another buddy of ours.
Yeah.
All three of us together, because it was actually our other buddy that introduced us to Lake Stevens Brewing and told us about this board when we first showed up. And so when we left that, you know, we came in, we had like 4 or 5 beers, I think.
Yeah.
We were pretty well off.
Yeah.
And then we left for the day, and before we left, we made sure that all three of us filled out a Post-it note, stuck it on the board, and I think he did one for law enforcement officers. I think I did one for veterans. And you did one.
I just did a stupid question.
You just did like and it could be for anything. It could literally be like, if you own a dog, you get a free beer.
Right, yeah.
You know, it could be, if you know a basic math problem, like 1 + 1, you get a free beer.
I have a feeling, because I was wearing glasses at the time, I think I actually had put a Post-it note in of, if you wear glasses, you get a free beer.
Yeah, and so
I mean, it's something as simple as that,
and
right?
it's a fun thing for the patrons to do. Like, you know, it's a nice thing. It's kind of like, it's almost the equivalent of, like, you know, if you're going through like the drive-through at a fast food place or a Starbucks, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm gonna buy the person's order behind me.
Right.
You know, and the person behind you orders like a Happy Meal, or they order like a coffee, and you pay for their stuff as like a charitable thing. Like, I'm paying for theirs.
Right.
You know, and then they pull up, and all of a sudden the person's like, oh yeah, that person paid for your coffee, and then they're like, oh, well, I'm gonna pay for the person behind me. And it's just that good charity that goes forward, and that's the kind of community stuff that places like Lake Stevens Brewing, you know, it breeds, it pushes.
Yeah.
You know, it really does, and it's phenomenal, and that's why I personally love this brewery.
Exactly.
If nothing, you know, if nothing else, it's the personal reasons like that, and the staff is amazing. I mean, they're letting us record here.
Right.
You know, we pretty much cleared out their tent.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
So.
Luckily everybody had, you know, dispersed before we actually started setting up.
Yeah.
And the three that were sitting over there,
They had one beer and left.
yeah. No, you know, you don't know how many they had over there.
Maybe she was insulted because I brought up the whole trying to identify Sweden on the map, and she didn't want to be here for that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Sweden. I'm so sorry.
You know what? We were talking earlier about like religion and churches and stuff. Here's your penance. You need to drink one Swedish beer.
I'm down.
To make up for not knowing where the country, and you need to know where the country of Sweden is. So I'm now giving you a homework assignment. You need to drink. You need to drink a Swedish beer, and by next podcast, be able to identify where Sweden is on a map of Europe.
So funny enough, right? Like I'm on YouTube. I'm on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
I watch a lot of YouTube as well.
Right.
I watch people from all over the world. You know,
Yeah.
London, Sweden.
Yeah.
I watch Peter Lindgren, who
Ooh.
he's in Gothenburg, something like that.
Yeah.
He's in Sweden, and phenomenal cinematographer, amazing guy. He actually has probably taught me more on how to like vlog and set up my camera. Actually, the settings for my camera are because of him.
There you go.
But I mean, you have people like Teppo Hopjoy and his brother Matty. His brother Matty's in Canada, but Teppo is over in, I want to say like the Netherlands or
Okay.
you know, he's over close to over there. I think he might be in Finland. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Teppo, if you ever watch this, I'm sorry.
He's not watching this. It's okay.
But I mean, there's people from all over the world, and I absolutely love that about YouTube. Is just, it's not just America. It's not just Canada. There's people all over the world that
100%.
that get to watch this, and
100%.
I would love to get to a point to where I can showcase and you can showcase craft breweries that are all over the world. Oh my God.
All right, guys.
We're dark.
Until next time.
I think that's our cue.
That's our
cue.
cue.
We're going to wrap it up here. I know you probably can't see us, but that's okay. Have a great night. Stay safe out there. Support your independent craft brewers, and we will see you next time for the Taproom Table. Cheers.
Cheers.
Have a good night.
You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. My heart on my sleeve, stress, seal my greed.